Hi, I'm Nono, and welcome to my living room studio. In the key of G, there are certain chords that work well with the root note G. Namely, D, C, B minor, and even E minor, and sometimes even A minor, because they go well when they resolve back to the root chord, which is G. Why is that so? The answer will probably be in the same book as why the pentatonic scale of E minor is the exact same scale as pentatonic G major. Exact same scale. Again, why? The answer lies in music theory. Now, music theory is A, wild animal, B, it's a very complicated topic, and C, I claim to be no expert in music theory. All I know is that as a musician, there's a certain level of familiarity that I need to have with certain music theory concepts. For example, a major chord, when you put the third note half a step down, becomes a minor chord. Let's look at that. A major, the third note is A, B, C sharp. So when you put the C sharp, the third note, half a step down to a C, that note becomes, that chord becomes a minor chord. Major, this is the third note. That is why if you're playing an A bar chord, a minor happens when you lift your middle finger, because the C sharp becomes a C. So if you've never heard this concept before, but you know the difference, but you know how to play A and A minor, then that by itself is already little part of music theory. And I've come across guitar players who have said, I know how to play chords, I know how to solo, that music theory stuff is bullshit. Well, let me break it to you. You're already practicing music theory concepts while you play chords and while you solo and all that. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine asked me, hey Nono, do you have new playlists you're listening to? Because I'm sick of listening to the same stuff over and over again. And I said, no. And the context is that this friend of mine and I kind of converse every now and then about how the songs from the 80s and the 90s and even the 70s are so much better than what you hear on mainstream pop charts nowadays. And, as musicians, we probably have different definitions of great songs. But at the end of the day, we probably have common baselines. A case in point, in his YouTube channel, Rick Beato has a series called What Makes a Song Great. And his episode last week featured Kiss from a Rose by Seal. Now, I've been listening to that song countless times since 1994. But when Rick soloed the strings track, and you could hear the strings building up to a crescendo, it actually gave me goosebumps. And when Rick talked about how the one chord of that progression is actually G minor, but Seal changes it to a G major, wow, we all agree that Kiss from a Rose is a great song. So, nowadays, there's not much great songs. And I think I'm stepping on some toes when I say that, because not everybody will agree with me, especially the young ones who like today's music. A couple of weeks ago, I started to see things like this on my social media feed. This one too, and that one too, and that one. I got curious, so I followed the links, led me to a page that said something like MIDI Chord Pack. A few hundred or even a few thousand MIDI files in all keys, major, minor, the most popular progressions. It was on sale for $12. I bought it. I wanted to see, okay, what is this all about? So why don't we check it out? Alright, so what do we have here? The package came in a nested zip file, meaning I downloaded one zip file, and then inside it were two zip files, and inside those two zip files were a lot of other zip files. So I unzipped everything, and what it's showing me right now are folders labeled C major all the way down to B major, and I take it these are the keys for the progression. So before we move any further, let's set up our DAW. I'm using Ableton Live for this right now. I already set it up so that we would be faster. I've got a pretty basic 808 drum track on my first instrument, and this is what it sounds like. Alright, and then I have a basic piano track going on here. This is just a built-in piano from Ableton Live. Beside it, I have a piano pad. And then beside it, I have a lead. And it has an arpeggiator with it. And then I have a sort of a hit instrument. So we'll use the lead as our bass track. Let's see what this is about. Let's choose a key. Let's choose D major. I see triads, extended chords, borrowed and modal chords, and I see progressions. What we want to do is look at the progressions folder, and we have the first folder inside called diatonic triads, which is simple chords, and then we have the advanced progressions. So let's take it one step at a time. Let's do the simple stuff first. Alright, we're working on the key of D major, so I'm going to choose major progressions. So we have here a folder with major progressions 1 all the way down to 12. And then beside each file are a bunch of Roman numerals. Now, if you're not familiar with any of these Roman numerals, I will explain. So for a very, very basic, simple thing, let's choose the first one, which is a 1-5-6-4 progression. So a 1-5-6-4 progression really translates into 4 chords, right? So the 1 is actually the key, the root chord, which is D major. We're in the key of D major, so the 1 is really the root chord, which is D major, right? The 5, which is the second chord, if you look at the scale of D, D is the first note, E is the second note, F sharp is the third, G is the fourth, and A is the fifth, right? So the 5 chord is actually an A major. So 1-5 is actually D, A. Now, let's look at the 6. The 6, 1, that's D, 2 is E, 3 is F sharp, 4 is G, 5 is A, 6 is B. So in the key of D major, the sixth chord, or the sixth chord rather, is a B minor. So we've got the 1 is a D major. We've got the 5, which is the A major. We've got the 6, which is a B minor. And then we have the 4. 1 is D, 2 is E, 3 is F sharp, 4 is G. So that's a G major. So we've got the D, which is the 1, the A, which is the 5, the B minor, which is the 6, and the G, which is the 4. So our pattern is D, A, B minor, and then G. Again, D, A, B minor, G. So how this works without the chord pack is that I hit record and I start doing this. So what the chord pack does, it lets me drag and drop. And if I play the track, it sounds like this. Very simple, right? So we got the 1 chord D, then the 5 A, then the 6 B minor, and then the 4 G, and it just goes on a loop, right? So I can actually play that together with my drum track. Right? Very simple stuff. Drag, drop, play. Alright, so what we can do now is let's give it a bass line. So let's take the same progression, drop it into our bass track. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like. Nope, don't like it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the high notes and let's retain the bass notes. Should be better. There you go. Alright, so what do we sound like now? Let's try to see. Alright, so doing good. We can take the same progression and move it or drop it to our pad. Let's see what that sounds like. Increase the volume a bit. Lower the volume of the bass. Looks good. Then we can take the same progression and drop it into our hit pad, and let's see how that sounds. Mix it down a bit. Piano up. Sounds good. Alright, now we've got a quick and dirty progression using the 1564 model, and we got that from the MIDI pack. Again, without the MIDI pack, I'd probably click record, play, click record, play, click record, play, but the MIDI pack just makes me do a drag and drop to the DAW. Now, okay, simple stuff. Why don't we head to the complicated stuff? If we look at the advanced progressions, if I go to major, it shows me a 1, 4, 2, 5. So in reality, this would be a D, the 1, The 4 is a G, D, G. The 2 is an E minor, right? And the 5 is an A. So how this would sound like in simple chords would be a D. And then the 4 is a G. And then the 2 is an E minor. And then the 5 is an A. Again, D. And then the 4, G. The 2, E minor. And then the 5A. But listen to this. Let's put it on the piano. Let's solo the piano track and look at what's going on. That's not just a D. That's not a G. So we've got a pretty complex set of chords here. If you look at the first chord, that's not a D. That's actually a D major 7. That's a D major 7, right? That's not a G. Okay. That's a B minor 7 over G. So the first chord he used was a D major 7. B minor 7 over G. What's this next one? Should be an E minor according to our progression. No, that's not an E minor. It's an E minor 9. It sounds like an A9. So what he's got going on is a D major 7, D major 7. And then he's got a B minor 7 over G. Oops, no. There. And then he's got an E minor 9, D major 7, B minor 7 over G. He's got an E minor 9, and then A9, or sounds like an A9. So these are pretty jazzy chords, if you will. Look at it, the D major 7 going to the B minor 7 over G is just so smooth. See that? That's just so smooth, right? So we see simple chord progressions, we see advanced chord progressions in this pack, and to be honest with you, there's a lot more. Let's just bring the advanced progressions to the other tracks, right? Let's see what that sounds like. And just like what we did, let's take the top notes of the MIDI of the lead, and let's see what this sounds like. So that's still the basic stuff. Okay, so let's listen to the advanced chord progression with the instruments one by one. Let's start with the drums. The piano. The bass. Let's put the pads. And finally, the hit. So there you have it. I won't go through each and every file. It's a collection of MIDI files with progressions, both basic and advanced. It actually makes the workflow much easier, right? In any art form, you can get away with bending or breaking the rules. My photography teacher once said that the most stunning photographs come from breaking the rules of photography or bending the rules of photography. And that's certainly applicable in the realm of music as well. As Beato showed us, in Kiss from a Rose, E flat and F naturally resolves to G minor, but there's some bending and breaking of the rules there because Seal changed it to G major. And what came out was a great song called Kiss from a Rose. Here's the thing, as musicians, we can certainly bend and break the rules, but before we do that, we have to know the rules. We have to know what we're breaking, we have to know what we're bending, we have to know what they are, and we have to know what they're for before we actually bend or break them. So, with the help of technology, it's never been easier to create music nowadays. The MIDI chord pack, gazillion MIDI files in all keys, different progressions, simple progressions. We've seen some advanced progressions also here and there. I think technology should allow us to work better, faster, to work more efficiently. If I approach the MIDI chord pack that way, a tool that will allow me to create music faster, that will allow me to have a more efficient workflow, then that's probably fine. However, the danger lies in approaching these chord packs as an excuse not to learn theory. Let's just leave it at that.